welcome to episode 1. We got a lot jam-packed for you. We're going to get started in just a minute. Just want to let you know what's coming up. You're going to meet your 3 hosts, myself, Brian, and Adam. I'm Jeff. You're going to hear about how we got started in the game and our first days out on the course. Then Brian and Adam go to the Poconos Raceway Disc Golf Experience out in Poconos, Pennsylvania, an event put on by Dynamic Discs. You're going to love to hear that story. And while they're out there, Brian interviewed Jeremy Rusco and Cool Daddy Slick Breeze himself, Bobby Brown. 2 great interviews packed into this one episode. Let's get started. Hey everybody, welcome to episode 1 of the Disc Golf Examiner podcast. This is your weekly lifestyle disc golf podcast. I'm Jeff. I'm your one of your 3 hosts. As you may know, I started Disc Golf Examiner about 2 years ago as a project, just a way to kind of document what was going on within the sport. And it kind of took a hiatus. I met back up with Brian and Adam, and they've really got this project rolling again. You're going to meet Brian and Adam in just a few moments. I just want to tell you a little bit about myself. Just a recreational player. I'm very engaged and involved, just playing recreationally. That's what I do. But one of the things we're trying to do here with Disc Golf Examiner is talk about just the lifestyle of the sport, talking about what do the 95% of the people do when they're playing disc golf? What happens in between tournaments? How do you set up a tournament? How do you run a company? We want to talk about those little things that go into making the sport so great. And when we're introduced, we'll call in Brian and Adam, and they're going to tell their side of the story and, you know, what they hope to accomplish with the podcast. So Brian, welcome.
Hey, thanks so much, Jeff, for that intro. I just want to say, I classify myself as an intermediate player. That's usually what I play whenever I am doing our Sunday devotional. And, I got into disc golf about 3 years ago. Actually, you know what? It's been 4 years now since I've gotten into disc golf, and I have really enjoyed it. I got really heavy into the media aspect of things this past year. Last year at Worlds, I was a photographer, took a bunch of photos for Disc Golf Examiner here. And this whole year, we've spent sort of growing into a video aspect where we are covering local tournaments in the area. And now we're trying our hand at podcasting, and I couldn't be more excited about it.
Yeah, I'm really excited. And Brian, you've really brought this back to life. A lot of you have seen his videos on Facebook and YouTube. He's been documenting a lot of local activities around the Pittsburgh area, along with a great job shooting photos at Worlds last year, and a couple other events that we're going to talk about coming up here on this episode. It's really Brian with the spark on this one.
Yeah, thanks. I'm having so much fun. I've gotten to meet so many different people, and I'm just really impressed by the community of disc golf. Everybody seems to be really enthusiastic about the sport, where it's going, and I hope that we can play a part in that.
Yeah, and one thing I just realized, we didn't plan this, but I'm a very recreational, casual player. Brian's an intermediate player, and you're going to meet Adam. Adam started playing in some advanced. Is that correct?
Yeah, I play a local league and some very, very few events in advanced. I'm probably borderline intermediate advanced.
Yeah, but what will be unique about this podcast is there's 3 different perspectives from 3 different players in the game.
Correct. That'll definitely
Correct.
Be awesome. I've been playing, I think this is my 5th year playing. I've been playing competitively this is the end of my 2nd year. I've played probably a dozen and a half tournaments. I played, let's see, 5. I'll play 8 this year. Don't really have the funds or the means to travel really far to play, so I mostly play locally. Try to do one bigger tournament a year. I got started just playing. My old coworker when I lived in Michigan was just like, hey, come play disc golf. And I said, all right, let's check it out. I was hooked from day one. Went out and bought my first pack, and then bought a lot more since then.
When you went out and bought your first pack, was it like immediately after you finished your first round? Were you one of those players that just caught the bug?
I wish I remembered more, honestly. I feel like I went out a couple times, and then I was like, all right, this is a thing.
I'm hooked. This is a thing.
Yeah, actually, for me, it was, probably about 5-6 years ago. I had some friends take me out to the course, and I had so much fun doing it. But I didn't have any courses near me. So traveling and playing disc golf at the time didn't really make financial sense. However, recently, in the past, 4 years or so here, things have changed for me, and I've been able to travel a lot more. And so my nearest course is about 50 minutes away. So it's, for me, it's all about getting out there and having some fun, and try to get out at least, once, twice a week.
I play, now that leagues are over, I don't play as much. I play usually both weekend days, and I try to get out for a round once a week. I'll usually just even step outside for 10 minutes and just putt for a little, and that's fine.
Oh yeah. Today I had to get out to a field. I just had an itch after work, so went out. Super windy day, thrown into a headwind. Was not as much fun as I thought it was going to be. But my discs were not traveling as far, let's say.
Speaking of headwinds, the first time I ever played disc golf, it was Brian invited me, and I was kind of skeptical. I was 20 years from skateboarding, punk rock, and Brian's like, hey, you want to go play disc golf? And I'm like, I don't know, man. What kind of pothead wants to go throw frisbees in the woods? And so we get there. We played Deer Lakes, which was one of the courses at Worlds last year, and this was like two years ago that he first took me out, and we all get there, and all of our phones blow up with a flash flood warning, and like it's coming. Like we're like, well, should we go or should we play? We all decided to play. I ended up having probably the best fun I've ever had in my entire life. And I was the one that got the itch and got hooked immediately after playing. Went out, bought my pack. I bought an Innova 3-pack rated Dix with a leopard and what's all in that pack? It's a leopard,
Shark,
a shark, and an AVR.
I think I just bought a DX Beast. I didn't actually buy the set. I just bought a driver.
I went straight for I was like, oh, that's a great value for $29.50. I was like, price per disc, that is a great deal.
Yes.
And so I got suckered in immediately and just never looked back.
Yeah, I remember that day that we went out. I remember being in the middle of the woods and it just pouring so hard. We were at Deer Lakes, weren't we?
Yeah.
I remember it pouring so hard, but it was still a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's hard to have a bad day. I mean, you can have bad days, but it's as long as you're on the course, you're doing something right. All right. Well, speaking of crazy weather and headwinds, you two just returned back from a crazy event across the state over in the Poconos. It was put on by Dynamic Discs, and it was called the Pocono Raceway Experience.
Disc golf experience.
Disc golf experience. And you two were out on that side of the state for a whole weekend. So tell me a little bit about that.
All right. Well, Adam and I started out Saturday. We got out, left about 9 a.m. headed out to Lake Harmony, Pennsylvania, to the F.E. Walter Dam because DD, Dynamic Discs, was putting on a special doubles event that Adam and I wanted to go to. And so we, headed out there about 4.5 hours away. Nice little trip on I-80. We have some live videos from that on the Facebook page, so make sure to check that out. So we get to the doubles event, and we had just such a fun time. Everybody was there. Everybody from Dynamic Discs. We had Jeremy Rusco, Jay Ray, who we did an interview with last week-ish. There was he drives around the RV van and sells discs and puts together 2-disc challenges and chasing the chains events. And Bobby Cool Daddy Slick Breeze was there. He does all their media stuff. You may know him from the Disc Golf Answer Man podcast and Inside the Circle. The 2010 world champion Eric McCabe was there. And also we had Mike Solt, who is a TD in, northeastern Pennsylvania. He lives near the Poconos in either case, and he puts on over 40 events. I think he said this past year he put on over 40 events, and just everybody, each one of them, just great guys. They were very fun to talk to, get to know. I had met a few of them at Worlds last year and previously. But it was just pretty much to say hi to them and introduce myself. And I was pretty thrilled that they remembered me in most cases there. So really great guys, great memories, and were had by all for that weekend. And then Sunday we went out and we did the Pocono Raceway Disc Golf Experience, which was amazing. It was unlike anything I had ever been to. It was disc golf on a NASCAR track, and that's not it. Whenever we came in, the DDRV was there. You could check out a bunch of different discs. You get players packs. I got a pretty sweet polo out of it, and Mike Solt was very accommodating. He was a really great TD for the event. Got an interview with him, and it was a very fun time. Maybe Adam could probably explain a little bit better about the holes and everything that we did, but yeah, it was very windy because we were on a mountain, and we do have some videos out, so check those out to see what we experienced there. It's so fun. You got up on T1 and they announced your name. Felt like a big shot up there. I don't know about you, Adam, but I felt like a big shot.
It was a pretty unique experience. We played even initially driving in, and you're like, okay, it's a NASCAR track, it's an oval, and then you get to one side of the track and you look across and you're like, that's really, really far away.
You know what? That's what I wanted to mention, was that we went through a tunnel to get into the event, and we ended up, like, I looked around and I was like, okay, all right, there's this big building here in front of us. Is the racetrack on the other side of it or what? And I turn around and I'm like, Adam, we're surrounded by a racetrack. We're already in the pit of the racetrack. Yeah,
I think it might be one of the bigger NASCAR tracks, but anyway, that's another subject. Yeah, we started out in the pit row and we played, I think, 5 holes on the track and in the infield, which were really windy. It was interesting playing some of the shots that go up the track with some interesting skips and whatnot.
Yeah, you don't really get to play disc golf on cement that much. You don't really know how it fly, how the discs skip.
Right.
You know.
And then we played a hole out to the outside of the track, and then I think we played another 5 or 6 outside the track. And then personally, I think the best part was about the last third of the round, because then they started using the elements of the track. We played a couple holes through, I would say, like pavilions, basically. Just laser straight pavilion shots. We had a shot underneath the grandstands to an elevated basket on a picnic table. And then we finished off taking an elevator up to the, I guess, second level, throwing across that, took the elevator down, threw across the track. And probably my favorite hole, we threw across the track back to where we started, and then took a tunnel underneath, and you had to throw a mandatory forehand roller, because the ceiling's probably only 8 to 10 feet high, if that. So you just had to throw this forehand roller down this downhill tunnel to the basket. And one of the guys on our card ended up throwing his legitimately 200 feet to the other end of the tunnel. And then we finished off with a hole from the finish line to victory lane.
Yeah, that hole 18, the victory lane shot was pretty fun.
Definitely.
I wish I had a second shot at it. Actually,
I do as well.
I feel like I didn't quite get where I wanted to on the drive, and my upshot was I had a pretty much a stage to my side that was taller than me.
Yep.
And so I had a heck of a time trying to get it up over the banister. But yeah, man, I wish I had a second shot at that. And I don't know, we may have a second shot at it, because I don't know if they're going to do it again, but if they did, I know I'd have fun going back.
Yeah, it was definitely a unique, one of a kind experience. It was really well put on, really well organized. There were a lot of volunteers helping out, which is always awesome. It was a good time, good player pack, lots of good stuff.
Yeah, even the owner of, or I should say the president of the Speedway was there, and he was a pretty cool guy. He was racing around in a Camaro, I believe, and he was racing. They had a race with the dynamic disc RV and everything, and it was kind of a fun, cool starting ceremony to the event. And just so many stories from that day. We even got to play with one of the pros that we've covered. I think we've covered him. This was our third or fourth time covering him in an event, and that's Owen Heilman, who was in, I know for sure we had him in the Ironwood Open and the Pittsburgh Flying Disc Open, and this event for sure. But Owen, got to catch up with him. He recently won an event, one of the older events in disc golf, he was telling me. So it was really cool to be able to catch up with some people that we've seen over the years, and or over the year, and see how they have been doing.
So while you're also out there, you had mentioned you got to meet a few people and get a couple additional interviews for the podcast.
Oh yeah, definitely. I took some time out, and I was able to have an interview with Jeremy Rusco. I actually have that for you now. We talked to Jeremy basically about, everybody gets into disc golf in a different way. It's usually, it could be a friend or family member that gets you into the sport, but there's so many, where you go from there is really up to you. And to take something that you love and make it a business, I think is really interesting. And Jeremy's interview kind of heads off in that direction. So I'll let you go ahead and take a listen now, and we'll come back afterwards. Hey guys, Brian here with Disc Golf Examiner. I'm here with Jeremy Rusco, owner of Dynamic Discs. Jeremy, it's so nice to meet you.
Hey, great to meet you this week.
Absolutely. How did you initially get introduced into disc golf?
Simply by somebody introducing disc golf to me. I was part of the football team at Fort Hays State University, and one of the running backs, one of my teammates, said, "Hey, you want to go play some disc golf?" And I was like, "Well, heck yeah, I want to go throw some discs in the park." And went out, and the first time I had a great drive and heard the chains, I was hooked. So between school and football, I didn't necessarily get to play, and track, I didn't necessarily get to play a whole lot at Fort Hays State. But once I moved to Emporia, disc golf obviously became a pretty big part of my life. So very grateful for being introduced by somebody by simply just saying, "Hey, let's go out to the park and throw."
And from being introduced to it to creating your own company, how big of a step was that? What made you want to make that leap?
Well, I never thought it would be what it is today. That's for darn sure. And it, really just started to have a passion for the sport, and decided that wanted to try out a college hobby, eBay-based business, and bought 100 discs from Discraft and put them up on eBay, and sold a disc the first week and a disc the second week, and then it started turning to 2 discs a week and 3 discs a week and 4 discs, and now it's a lot more than that. It's by the truckload now by the week, and it's been a whole lot of fun, and sure do love everything that disc golf has brought to my life.
Absolutely. We have Grow Disc Golf Day coming up pretty soon too, so that should be pretty interesting. Anything you want to say about that?
Yeah, Grow Disc Golf Day is a week-long recognition for disc golf, and that is October 10th through the 16th. Of course, you can grow disc golf every day of the year, and most of us disc golfers do, but we are intentionally encouraging people to introduce somebody new to disc golf, just like the way that I was, just like the way that so many of us were introduced to disc golf. Is we want to encourage people to let somebody try a disc for the first time, or give somebody a disc, take them out, and hopefully they're hooked just the same way that we are. So you can check out growdiscgolf.com, hear some of our stories, and see what it's all about, and just do your little part to get more people involved.
Disc golf has grown so much over the past few years, and what do you think is contributing to that lately?
Yeah, disc golf is definitely growing tremendously, especially over the last several years, it seems. And there's hundreds of reasons for that. I think one of some of the major points of it are that it's free to play in almost all public parks. Now you can pay to play, but even at that, the expense is minimal. The minimal expense to get the equipment you need, 3 discs for less than $25, or you don't even have to take 3 discs out, but definitely recommend it.
You can be like me and buy 200 discs at a time.
Yeah, well, that happens too. Just how quick it is to play. It's not like your traditional golf where it's 4.5, 5 hours takes up the better part of your day. You can go out and play disc golf in an hour and a half, 2 hours, and I think that's a great thing with the sport. And just how for all walks of life and all skill levels, it's so easy to enjoy disc golf that it makes it where it's great to get out there and play. So I expect disc golf to continue to grow by leaps and bounds over the next several decades, and truly think that there's 5,000 to 6,000 courses in the United States currently, and the more courses we get in the ground, the more people are going to be playing. And I think that we have a 25,000 course potential in the United States. So we're going to see disc golf just continue to explode over the next several decades.
Well, I definitely look forward to that. So, Jeremy, thank you so much for taking some time out with us.
You.
And appreciate it. And hey, guys, if you are interested in any of Jeremy's stuff, once again, Dynamic Discs is his company. You should definitely check it out. He sells a bunch of different types of discs on there as well. So, anything else you want to add?
That's it. Thanks for checking out the event at Poconos Raceway. Glad you guys are here, and thanks for tuning in and checking everything out.
Absolutely. Thanks for listening to Disc Golf Examiner.
All right. Wow, that was really cool, Brian. Thanks for getting that interview. It's pretty amazing and inspiring to hear how you just started with a little dream in college, bought a couple discs, and it grew into, it's one of the biggest companies in disc golf now.
Absolutely. And you know what? I really think that positive attitude plays a big part in this and being successful with the sport. Because if you do notice, a lot of the people that are popular in the sport do have that really great attitude, and they're willing to go the extra mile, and that was something that was really nice with Jeremy. He didn't mind, taking his time out to do an interview with us. And in fact, he actually sits behind the DDRV and sells discs, and he loves greeting people. Just real nice guy, very easy to get along with.
Yeah, it's just an amazing story. One of the great things about sport is you take so much from it. It rewards you. It inspires you in so many ways. And then when you're able to take what's influenced you and turn it into something and give it back to the community, and that's exactly what Dynamic Disc has done. They've taken something, they've made it their own, and they've multiplied it exponentially and given it back to the community. They've given something really amazing, a resource, something that just helps people to get started, helps people at all skill levels, unites people with events like this. That's one of the greatest things you can do in your sport, is to take from it, make it your own, and give it back exponentially better. And that's definitely what Dynamic Disc has done.
Yeah, they're definitely about growing the sport. And like he was saying, he says that he thinks the United States has a 25,000 course capacity. And right now it's somewhere around 5,000. Think about that. That would be an amazing thing. We'd have disc golf courses, everywhere. It'd be fantastic. I really liked his thought on that.
And speaking of giving back, one of the components, I think, to the success of Dynamic Disc is obviously the podcast that Cool Daddy Slick Breeze and Eric McCabe started with the Disc Golf Answer Man. That is just a tremendous resource. Definitely represents the brand, the mindset of the company. And you were fortunate enough to sit down with him too while you were there.
Yeah, absolutely. And Bobby and I have been talking over the past year or so. I was always a big fan of the Disc Golf Answer Man podcast, and their willingness to always accept questions, and they really even if they think the question may be not to their benefit, they'll still ask themselves that. They're very true about their questions and honest. And so I asked Bobby if he would sit down and talk to me for a minute about his experience with disc golf and how his career has come to be what it is. So we're going to take a moment and listen to that now, and we'll be back with you in a minute. Hey everyone, it's Brian here with Disc Golf Examiner. I'm here with Bobby Cool Daddy Slick Breeze, Bobby Brown from Dynamic Discs. Now, Bobby, I was curious, you do several podcasts, you do a lot of the media stuff for Dynamic Discs, but what is it that got you into disc golf in the first place?
Well, it's an interesting story. Back in about 2009, I didn't know anything about disc golf, didn't even know it existed, and a friend of mine, Jim Taylor, owned some land, and he put some baskets out there, and he was going to do a big tournament. He told me, he says, we're going to have a big tournament, and he needed some help doing his website for the tournament. And I was good friends with his son, Jeremy Taylor, and so he asked me to help with the website, so I did a little bit of help. And he said, why don't you come out and take a few pictures of some of the guys playing? So I said, all right, I'll come out and do that. And I took some pictures of some of the guys playing, and then found out that the big tournament was a national tournament from the PDGA, the Green Country Open. And he said, would you help me do some of the video for it? And I said, sure. And so I did video for the Green Country Open, not realizing that it was a big part of the national tour of the PDGA. And we actually did some live stuff there. One of the first, I don't know if it's the very first live of disc golf, but I think it's among the first. It was very archaic. It was just, in fact, it was me with the computer in the back of my Expedition, running off the power of the Expedition, and I had the camera hooked up to a desktop computer, and then the Wi-Fi connected to his house Wi-Fi, and I was filming just one hole, and that was it. but it was pretty exciting. So that's kind of how I got my start.
And then you moved on from there. Is that when you created the podcast, or what?
Yeah, no, the podcast came actually much later. So back in, like I was saying, in 2009, I did that NT, and then I met Jeremy Rusco of Dynamic Discs. He did a tournament out at the place where they had the NT, and I was really impressed with his setup. And I thought, wow, I need to be connected with this guy. So I said, hey, do you ever think there'd be value in me coming, doing some photos and video for your tournaments? And he said, sure, yeah. If you're near Emporia, Kansas, come on by and do some stuff for me. So some weeks had passed by, and I told my wife, this is something I really want to try. And so I got in my expedition and drove to Emporia, Kansas, spent the night slept in my truck, and woke up the next day and surprised Jeremy, and he couldn't believe that I really actually took him up on the offer. And I did some photos and video and put it out, and that was actually in 2009. It was the Glass Blown Open. So another tournament that's a huge tournament that I had no idea. I just kind of showed up and did it. And from there, I started working a thing out with Jeremy where he saw the value in video for disc golf and to grow his business and to grow disc golf. And so I started traveling to places in Kansas and Texas and to do some stuff there. Then I moved on to helping with Disc Golf Planet. I did some feature videos for them there. And then I started noticing that I really wanted to get my foot in the disc golf media. And I had always listened to podcasts. And so I thought there really wasn't a lot of podcasts out there. I did discover Mr. Disc Golf did the local route and listened to his. And I think there was a couple of disc golf talk, I think it was.
Yeah, I think there may have been that.
Yeah, and so there was some good stuff, and I thought, well, maybe there's room for me to do it. And I was friends with Eric McCabe, and I thought maybe we could do a podcast where people sent in questions, and they can get Eric McCabe, world champion, get some advice from him, and that was kind of the idea for the Disc Golf Answer Man.
And it seems like it's really worked out since then.
Yes, it has. In fact, it's kind of even turned into something I didn't realize, is that people like advice from Eric that are on a pro level, but they like advice from me because I'm just a casual guy I don't have a big arm, but I just like to play every now and then, and people get advice from me as well. So yes, it's definitely grown into something a lot bigger than I thought it would be.
What contributed to the success of the podcast, do you think?
Well, I mean, I think just everybody knows that, disc golf is growing so by leaps and bounds, and so people just love to talk about disc golf, watch disc golf, and hear disc golf. So I think that was a big thing. Another big thing is that our angle was you send in your questions and we'll answer them. And so if people have a question about how to get better distance, how to get better at putting, how to play a tournament, how to run a tournament, we're here to give the information that we can give. And so yeah, we tried to do it every week so people knew it was on a consistent schedule. Even when Eric would travel, sometimes he would call in and we would do it over the phone and stuff like that. So I think it's just, we like to help people get better at disc golf. We like to spread the word of disc golf, and I think that helpfulness is what kind of has helped it grow.
As time has gone on here, and you guys have been doing the podcast for almost 4 years now, have you seen the impact that you've made on the sport through your travels or anything like that?
Yeah, when we travel, a lot of times when we go places, people will recognize, say, hey, I listen to you every week, or I just listened to you on my way to this tournament. And so yeah, it's definitely the reach has been really big, and a lot of people will recognize us and stuff like that. And then of course I noticed that there's a segment of people that want to know more about disc golf, but then of course, like I said before, people just love to talk about disc golf, and that kind of gave us the idea to branch off and do another disc golf, the Inside the Circle, where it's me, Eric McCabe, and Dixon Jowers, where we talk about the tournaments that are going on, and then talk about some hot topics that some of them are a little controversial, but hot topics that are going on in disc golf. And even that, as we've gone to tournaments, people have come up to me and like, man, I loved your opinion you had on this, or you were right, Dixon was wrong, or something like that. So stuff like that. So yeah, I can see that and another reason why I wanted Inside the Circle is because even though it's entertaining, and I don't want to say it's just for the growth of dynamic disc, but I think it's for the growth of disc golf, because we need more media stuff. And so I wanted to make sure that there was a lot of stuff out there that if people discover disc golf, they can be engulfed by disc golf and disc golf media and content, so that to keep that hunger for disc golf growing.
What is the Aviator disc, and where is it right now?
Well, the one that we brought is actually on the roof right now because J. Ray decided to throw it on the roof at the Poconos Raceway. The Aviator is a brand new disc that we're coming out with. working with Latitude 64, but it's going to be from Dynamic Discs, and it's going to be a catch disc that we're coming out with. We're very excited about this. It's not going to be just for disc golfers, but it's going to be for families to take to the beach and play some catch disc. And then, of course, we have a special relationship with Marvel that allows us to do some special things with the Aviator. And we've kind of teased it on our Instagram and on our Facebook page and stuff like that. So, but it's going to be big, and it's going to be big as a catch disc and family friendly. But we believe that the ultimate world and community might have something new to play with in their competitions. But we'll have to see how that goes. But we're very excited about it.
Cool. So will it be a disc that's approved by the PDGA, do you think? Or
it is approved by the PDGA. You could play with it if you wanted to. I don't know why you would. I mean, I know that there's certain tournaments, or what are they called, super tours or something like that, would play certain kind of discs. But I mean, obviously we're not going to stop somebody from playing with it in a tournament and stuff. But it's really going to be mostly for your ultimate style of disc playing.
Well, I think that should just wrap us up there, Bobby. It was real nice to talk with you today.
Awesome, thank you. And real quick, I just want to thank, if you are a listener of the Disc Golf Answerman or Inside the Circle, we want to appreciate you listening, because we wouldn't have a show without you guys. So I want to thank everybody for doing that. I appreciate that.
Brian, that was really great. Nice interview there with Bobby Brown. Really cool hearing his story.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, everybody gets into the sport in a different way, and it's kind of cool to see where that can go. It depends on what path you take. You know, you have Jeremy going off on the business end, and Bobby going off and doing the media stuff, and which has brought them both great success in the sport. And you know, it's just funny to see. You know, everybody starts off pretty much the same way.
Yeah, everybody starts off not knowing much about disc golf.
Exactly. Yeah.
And throwing 12-speed drivers 100 feet into the air.
Yes. Hey, you know what? You need those lessons. You really do.
It went as far left as it went forward.
Yeah, sometimes they come right back to you whenever you're first starting.
Well, I gotta tell you what, guys. For our first episode, I think we hit the ball out of the park. I can't wait to see what we come back with on episode 2. Any final thoughts?
Actually, about episode 2, there's actually 2 things I wanted to mention. First thing is that we're probably going to be doing some coverage of a tournament this weekend in Indiana, which is what's the name of the tournament, Adam?
It would be the extremely complex name of the 2016 Indiana Open.
That's right. The Indiana Open in Indiana, PA at the IUP College Lodge. And so this is a course that I don't think there's very much video of, but it has some beautiful views, and it's going to be a lot of fun to kind of showcase in a video.
It is the most meticulously groomed course you may ever play. I don't know how they maintain it the way they do.
Yeah, I don't know. It's on a ski slope, you know?
Yeah, there's never a blade of grass out of place, and there's never leaves or anything. It's so well maintained.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's going to be a lot of fun. I really can't wait to see how people play on this course. And the other thing I wanted to mention was I have a challenge for you both.
All right, let's hear it.
I'd say that Grow Disc Golf Day is from the 10th through the 16th there. I'd say we should each pick somebody who has not played the sport yet, and we should get them together and do a video of their first time out playing.
Yeah, we'll do a segment in the podcast as well.
Yeah, I think that could be fun. What do you think, Adam?
Adam's very excited about it.
Woo!
Okay, no more sound effects for you.
That was not me. That was Adam's excitement.
Yeah. Anything else you guys want to talk about?
No, let's call this a wrap.
It's a wrap. It's a chicken lettuce wrap.
It's a wrap.
Well, I do that.
Is that our music?
It is
That was-
now.
Yeah, that's our introduction.
No, keep doing it. Keep doing it.
No, you'll have a sample.